I wanted to make a video about ancient Egypt, or Kemet as the city was actually called, and the Zodiac, which is what their spirituality was based after. I'll start with the basic spiritual belief of ancient Egypt. The point of your life, if when you lived in ancient Egypt, was to live as light-footed, as righteous, and be as kind as possible to other people. And once you died, there was a ceremony with the gods and deities, and Anubis would actually take your heart out and weigh it on a scale against a feather. And your heart was supposed to be as light as a feather. And if it was, then you were allowed to pass into the afterlife. If not, you had to come back down to the physical realm and do it again until your heart is as light as a feather. Reincarnation. You had to keep doing it until you got it, your heart to be as light as a feather, which is all done by the actions that you choose to do while you are on Earth. And in their whole entire society, they base their hieroglyphs and symbolism around all of this and push out subliminal messaging to all of the citizens of their civilization to be righteous and to be kind to each other. It was just another form of subliminal messaging that they use to do it in a positive way instead of negative, which is what is said that is going on right now today. And I really don't see it as necessarily positive, because you're still telling people how to behave and act, and then they're doing it to get to the afterlife that is already set out there for them to go and get to, and that's the whole point of the journey of your life back then. And the other thing is, many of the gods and deities are actually pagan gods or Jesuit gods, which is Isis, Horus, and Set. Those are the three gods that the Jesuits worship. They're satanic gods. And many of the other gods as well are pagan deities, which I believe at this point that they're all really satanic deities and gods. That's all that we have on this world right now. We have no idea if there are other gods, which I don't think there are anyways. We are the gods. That's why they put all these other things out there, so that we believe they are gods, when they're really just satanic beings or energies that emanate from them, because all that they are energies. It's a name, and that name has a certain energy to it, just like any word. And that's what we're really harnessing when we say them or pray to them. And it's going somewhere, but I don't know who's on the other end receiving all that energy that people put out towards them. But with the history of ancient Egypt, though, it dates back millions of years ago, and the civilization was supposed to be alive for millions of years as well. It's supposed to be the ancient, most historic civilization that we have on record that ever existed on this planet. That they are supposed to be where the Earth started, that everything was created with them, which when you read any spirituality or religion, they all say that. But this one is supposed to start the farthest back than any of the other ones. And it is all black people as well. There are no Caucasians in it at all. It's all black people. They're all African, because that is supposed to be where the world actually started, which plays right into the evolution type of thing of it, where the world started, or the man started in Africa. And that's exactly what Kemet and ancient Egypt tell you. And what happened for us to get to where we are now is they lived off of prophecy. So they knew what was going to happen before it actually happened, just like we do today. They looked at the stars, which is all that the Zodiac is. The stars, the planet, the moon, and the sun. You can read everything that's going to happen down here by looking at them, which is one reason why we can't really see them right now, because, well, when you're in the cities at least, you have to get very far away from the light pollution to really clearly see everything up there. And you can see everything. You don't need a telescope to see any of it. It's all right there. But they use these to set out their prophecies, and one of the prophecies was that it was all going to get torn down, that they were going to get taken over, and because of that, they allowed this to happen. Well, how it happened was the Egyptians. The story says that they created the white man, that they actually got bored with the society that they were in, and they knew all about genetic mutations, and they knew all of the science stuff that we're just starting to discover today. And they were actually experimenting and doing stuff with it. They were splicing animals together, they were creating new beings, and they created two different beings. And one of them was the Yeti, which is the first one that they made. And then the other one that they made was the caveman, or the Neanderthals. And the Yeti was a more intelligent being than the Neanderthal, so they went into the world and lived their own way, which allegedly they're out there right now in the woods living their own life. You see stories on the internet from time to time showing pictures of them. And they were allowed to go do what they want because they had more intelligence than the Neanderthals. Now, the Neanderthals, the ancient Egypts tried to help them. They tried to guide them to their teachings and to be more like them, to be righteous, to be kind to nature, to not harm others. And the Neanderthals rejected it because they were a barbaric race, because they didn't have intelligence like the humans did, which the Yeti and Bigfoot, whatever you want to call them, did have, because they took on the genetic mutation, but Neanderthals did not. And because of this, the Neanderthals ran and got away, and they ended up living in caves. And after a while, they migrated into Europe, and that's where they started to make their homeland, which by this time they had created a civilization and had physical things like we had today. Not quite like ancient Egypt, they were the opposite. It was all negativity. It was all war and fighting and violence and all the stuff that you see going on today. And then they built their civilization up around this. And eventually they got the intelligence to build a civilization and everything, but they build it out of negativity and out of hatred. And they eventually built the Greece society, and that's where Greek came from. It was they're called the albinos that migrated into Europe, and they eventually built Greece. And by this time, they had a fair amount of intelligence, but they didn't have any philosophy, which is all of what ancient Egypt was all about, philosophy. They had tons of philosophy, talked about everything. And they needed this philosophy to understand how everything actually worked in the world. That's what they didn't understand, is how anything worked in the world. So they went to Egypt, a few of their philosophers, and they learned from them. But the story says that they only gave them some of their philosophy. They didn't give them all of it. But it was enough for them to take it back and to really build their society out of it and to help change the culture into something greater, which is where all of Greek philosophy comes from. It's all ancient Egypt philosophy translated. That's why it's all the same, because it's all made by the same people, wherever it really comes from. And once they created this philosophy and they put it all in their writing and everything, they decided that they wanted to take over Egypt. And so they went to war with Egypt. And Egypt, in their prophecy, said that they were going to get taken over. So they let it happen. Just because it's in their prophecy, they let it happen. They tore everything down. They destroyed everything. As you can tell, there's absolutely nothing left in that area to show that there was ever a supreme advanced civilization that was supposed to be a huge civilization, and they tore it all down, and they stole a lot of the philosophy. They supposedly burned a lot of it, but they still weren't able to get everything. There was still some that was hidden away, which now they said that they found it at some point under, I think it was the Sphinx. There was a hidden library under it, which is where they found the Gnostics, which is supposed to be everything about ancient Egypt and how everything happened, which I was looking into a little bit. I never actually started reading the book that much. I did buy it, but I figured out that it was all for nothing before I started even really getting into it, into reading it. And when this happened, the philosophy or the prophecy also said that they would rise again in the West. They would rise again sometime in the West, which we're in the West right now. We're in America, which is in the West. That's why the philosophy was written like that. We're supposed to rise in the West. The Africans, the black people, are supposed to rise against the white people. It is a divide and conquer mentality all the way. That dates back millions of years. It's supposed to fuel the fire through ancient philosophy, and the time is supposed to be now. If you listen to what people say, that this is supposed to be when the world is taken back and turned back into a righteous place, which a lot of people say that it's no more just about black and white, that it's more about good and evil now, which a lot of people still though don't follow that with what people are saying, because that's mostly the entertainers and people like that talk about it in that way. People are really into Kemet, believe that it is black people and that's all that existed, and that's all that are really the true shepherds of this world are black people. Which when you listen to rap music back in the 90s, you can totally tell that was the message they were pushing out. It was all over the place. They talk about their Mother Earth and how they have to come back to power and stand up against anyone. Since then, the message has gotten broader to incorporate white people, because there's really always a struggle of poverty versus the rich, but it's another point, or I can't really think of a word to say, but it's something else that was put in there to help divide people even more. And once Greece got a hold of this philosophy, then they were able to really take control of their society. They were able to put the subliminal messaging into everything, and they were able to start programming people the way that they wanted, which eventually Greece fell. And then the Romans also did the same thing. And it's the same thing that just keeps going on and time again in these different societies, and they all end up collapsed for some reason. For some reason, the whole entire society collapses, and it happens in a very fast-paced way for how long these societies took to be built. The collapse is very quick, and it's no way than what it's prophesied to be here with the Bible. It's supposed to be a very quick collapse here, which I think is the beginning of it right now. I don't know what quick is in years. I don't know if it's a year or if it's 30 years. It could be either or for how long we've been going on here, and which we really don't know either. And so after all that, the prophecies just continue to change and go into different religions. It's the same exact story in every religion that you listen to, which is all that. If you follow ancient Egypt, that's all it really is another religion, even though they will tell you that it's not. It's a spirituality. It's a way to live your life by, and to fulfill your life by, which is the same thing that religion would tell you. And that's really all I wanted to say about ancient Egypt. There's obviously a lot more to go into because there's a huge history of it, but it's the same thing over and over that we keep doing. It's the same circles that we keep going. It's the same thing that we keep hearing in over and over in all these different religions and spiritualities, is how you have to do these types of things if you want to pass into the afterlife of that place. Which the difference between religions and spirituality, though, is religions is you're looking for someone else to do it for you, someone else to come and save you. Which spirituality is you take control of yourself, and you are the one that actually ascends and becomes the god. Because they believe that everyone is a god in ancient Egypt, which I do believe that everyone is a god, because we all have the power to create things. We're just not able to right now with the situation that we are in. But with that power, though, all that you do is you ascend to the higher level of the afterlife. There's nothing else besides that. It's already set in place for you to go and do that. And you keep ascending up and up and up to higher and higher levels until there must be an end somewhere, I guess. But it's supposed to go a very long way. And I don't think I ever read that it doesn't stop, though. But it's the same way that a lot of things spiral in this world. The Fibonacci sequence, which is the number sequence where 0 became 2 1s, and then you add 2 1s together to get 2, and you take that number that you got when you added the numbers together and add it with the one before it. So 2 plus 1 equals 3, and 3 plus 2 equals 5. Then 5 plus 3 equals 8, and 8 plus 5 equals 13, and 13 plus 8 equals 21. You keep going and going and going. And these numbers are supposed to be the God numbers. These are supposed to be what the life spirals from. Like if you look in nature, it is present in nature, in flowers and in all kinds of different animals and insects. The spiraling effect is present, and this is all based off of it. All comes down to the Fibonacci sequence, and it breaks down into the same exact pattern. And it's supposed to be the same way with the universe, it's supposed to spiral up in that same exact pattern. Which I feel that with everything that spirals up, it must come down at some point, and in which at that point you end up in a paradox again. I mean, it's either you get to the top or you come back down. You can't just keep going forever. I mean, what would forever be if you're not in time anymore? There really is no forever anymore. It's just you would be there. There would be nothing else to spiral to. Which that's the portion that religion doesn't talk about, because you look for someone else in religion, for someone else to come and save you and to take your salvation. And for your teachings, you look to a person to get your guidance from. There's going to be a person that's going to guide you and show you what to do. When with spirituality, it's more as there's writings, there's philosophy that you follow that has been set in stone for a very long time, that this is how you attain the next level and how you come to peace and ascend with yourself, which they really come down to the same thing, which is this is what you're going to do, and this is how you get to the next level. And there always has to be another way. There cannot always be just one way to do something, which is what I believe. And once I started to look into ancient Egypt, then I started looking into the Zodiac, because they both tie together perfectly. The Zodiac is all based on the stars and the planets, the sun, the moon, and Kemet, and where everything is aligned in the sky, and the patterns that everything takes, which everything is on a different cycle. Everything is on a different circular cycle in the sky, and it all aligns back into the same exact cycle at some point. No matter what, is going to end up in the same cycle because it's all in a circular pattern. It is all going at a different pace, but it ends up back at that same point sometime. And the zodiac is what is imprinted on all of our bodies. It's imprinted on everything that happens in this world. The zodiac can foretell pretty much anything that's going to happen. And that is where the prophecy came from. And our personalities, how we want to be in life, what we don't want to do in life, the troubles we have, what pushes us to do something is all written in the zodiac. And you can get all of this if you do a numerology chart. And it will break down, it'll give you all your numbers in numerology, and it will also tell you what these numbers mean, and you will find that they are very, very similar to how you are in reality. That is no mistake. It is because it is when we are born, where the position of all of these things are in the sky gets imprinted on us, gets imprinted on our body, and it even gets imprinted on your name somehow, because it's all tied together, because it's all written in the stars. Even the actions that are happening right now on Earth is all foretold in the stars. And you live out that what is written on you. I believe it's just based because you don't know that it's there, and that you're actually living out something that is foretold to you already, because it is it still is something that someone put in place for you to follow, or not necessarily someone, something put in place for you to follow. And it goes across everything. All of the earthquakes that happen all line up with the comets and the positions of mostly the moon and the sun, and the planets can play a part in it as well. And it will cause these earthquakes, and depending on the alignments, changes the severity of these earthquakes. There's people in the world that can predict earthquakes because they have the technology to see exactly where all the stuff is aligned from an up-down view, and can know the severity of all of the stuff and where it's happening. But it's all pre-planned. All of this is pre-planned. It's all built into the world that we are in. And even a lot of the big natural disasters that happen are also aligned with the alignments of the celestial bodies and where they are. And I really feel that it has to be a outside source that is doing it, because it just doesn't stop there. Because all of those numbers that then get imprinted on you, you see all over the place. They're in the words and everything. They're the numbers that the Freemasons use to code everything. And it's so spread out in so many places that it's just hard to conceive that someone on this earth was able to take a system that was in place and then code it onto literally everything that is in existence right now, and that is what is controlling us, that it's not something higher that is actually controlling us. So I think that is really the zodiac is the last layer that controls us, that we can get rid of everything, that all these material things and all the subliminal messaging, and go back into nature, and we won't have any really much influence from anything, but we're still going to be controlled by the zodiac, because that's one thing that we will be looking to, and it is what controls what happens on the earth down here regardless. And I can't see that someone then decided that they're going to take this and start making everything and creating everything out of these numbers, which numbers didn't even exist then. And it was just the energy, and trap us within it. I think that it is the last level for us to break out of. That's why I think if we go back to nature, all of us, we are still going to be trapped in this world to an extent, and we won't be able to get out of the world to our singular mind, because the Zodiac is still watching over us. It still knows everything that is going on here. We still have the moon that is still up there. We still have the sun that is up there, which both of them are pagan gods. The god Saturn is the keeper of time, and he is the sun god. He is Satan. Satan and Saturn break down to the same number in Gematria. They are one and the same. And the sun is Saturn. It is the god in the sky that is watching over us. It is the same type of thing as the moon. The moon is the god Isis. The god Isis is worshipped by the Jesuits. It is the moon god. The moon is constantly watching over us in the sky as well. They are two things that are always near us in the sky. And without those, the Zodiac would not work how it works right now. Now, which I just had another thought that it's possible that they were both displaced there, and there could be a natural Zodiac beyond that, but I really don't believe that. I think that this whole world is created top down from the Zodiac, and then there's just more programming until we get to where we are right now, which is so programmed that you won't even know anything about the Zodiac anymore, because we're so programmed, because they want to keep us away from the Zodiac with the mindsets that we have right now. Because I think that with these mindsets, we believe that a lot of us don't necessarily believe in the spiritualities now anymore that were placed out in front of us. And we can get out of the Zodiac now, out of this world because of it. Because a lot of us realize that there's things that just don't align right with the Zodiac, with how the world that would be natural would be. And the Zodiac is just that last layer that we just have to break through. And well, let's see, what else did I want to say? One thing that is coming up is May 21st, which there's going to be an alignment in the sky with one of the comets that is possibly part of the Nibiru system, which is supposed to be Planet X, this ancient system that only comes around every 3,600 years, or depending on who you listen to, it changes. And there's been a few comets that keep changing places in the sky, that if you look in astrological programs, they actually change where they are. But if you follow them, there's alignments that happen with them and the moon and the sun and other planets that happen there. And when they align, they will go over a certain point on the map, and there will be an earthquake there. And somewhere around the date of May 21st, there is going to be some type of major earthquake. I think that it's going to be a really big one, because from the dates of the last mega quakes, as they call them, was on, I think it was either the 14th and the 16th, or the 14th and the 15th, or the 15th and the 16th of April. But 36 days after those dates, depending on which date you go from, because one was a 7.0 and one was a 7.2 earthquake, there's you can count the last day, and if you change which one you start from, or take out the last day and change which one you start from, 36 days after will be May 21st. And 36 is what megaquake equals in Gematria. And also on the date of May 21st has a numerology of 42, which I believe is Mason, and I want to say it was 35, which I believe is either Mason or Masonic, with the S exception. And it also has a numerology of 17, which earthquake equals 107 in Gematria. And so I definitely think that the earthquake is going to happen on May 21st. It's possible that it may happen a couple days around there, but I think with the alignment on what that day has with Gematria and numerology, that it will definitely happen on that date. And 2 days after is May 23rd, which we believe is also going to be a significant day in history, which we will wait and see. Those days are coming up pretty fast here. But that's just one example that I'm predicting right now that we will have an earthquake. There are tons that have been predicted. There's a channel, if you go on my channel that I have under my featured channels, Separated Society, where Igor actually looks at the astrological program, and he puts out predictions, and he gets them right almost every single time, or is very close with them. And like in the wildfire, he didn't predict that's going on in Canada right now, but he found that there was an alignment that happened right there. And there was also the festival of Baal was also going on. I can't believe if it ended that day or not, but it was going on then. And Brother Berg on his blog, which I'll include down at the bottom, he has a write-up on that. And all of this stuff coincides. It's no mistake that all of it coincides. It is all created to keep us trapped, and we have no idea any of it's going on because we're too busy doing other things down here at this level, when all of these alignments are going on up there, and there's all these rituals that take place over all of these days as well. There's satanic rituals all the time that take place when a lot of these natural disasters happen because they kill people, and that is the sacrifice. They are blood sacrifices where they're actually killing people, which is something that does go on here, and which all just leads me to believe that this is just one huge trap that we're in, that we just need to come to realize it and come together, and we will be able to break out of it. Which I don't think necessarily going back to nature, even if all of us ran back to nature, I don't think that would help us break out of it. It really comes down to realizing the patterns that are going on everywhere, and trying to figure out where those patterns are actually coming from. I do believe that we can ascend in this world, but I think that we're going to ascend to where the real war is going on. We're going to go to where the person who is holding us captive here is. I think that there's a war going on the outside of this world that we just can't see from down here. And we're being held as prisoners of the war down here. We're being held captive because someone or all of us down here have the power to stop it. We have the power to end the war that's going on, to set the whatever is beyond this world back to how it was or is, and allow us to continue on doing what we want to do at any moment that we want to do it, because that is what we can do when we are all together, which we can even do within this world when we're all together, but we're still going to be in this world doing it. I think that we have to take that mindset and then get out of the world, because even if you ascend, you're still ascending through someone else's line of ascending. Now, unless when you do that, you come to some type of knowledge that you know that there is no other way to get out. But from this standpoint, where I'm standing right now in this world, I don't believe that, and I can't believe that just because of how it's all set up around us. It's absolutely insane. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you have anything you would like me to talk about, leave them in the comments. I plan on doing a video about myself and the subliminal messaging of programming that I was subjected to and that I have broken out to here in a little bit. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks. Bye.